Insomniac knocked it out of the park with their Spider-Man trilogy and have decided to become the leading AAA Marvel game developer. With the leaked roadmap of their future we just got, we can expect a lot more games of that quality. The next game they'll be releasing is their Venom spin-off, but what about beyond that? So far, we know about 4 games that Insomniac is developing: Venom, Wolverine, X-Men, and Spider-Man 3. Wolverine and X-Men are almost certainly going to tie in, but if the X-Men are in the Insomniac universe, we need the most iconic Marvel team, the Avengers. My theory here is that before Avengers, we'll get games starring each of the individual members first. Like, we'd get a Captain America game first, then Iron Man, then the Hulk, and so on until we get Avengers, which may have cameos from characters from other games. Each one could have different playstyles too, like Black Widow could be a spy stealth game like GoldenEye, and the Hulk could be a tankish hack-and-slash type game. It would also be great to get a Black Panther game, as a few nods to Wakanda have been in the Spider-Man trilogy. Another thing the Spider-Man trilogy has is the Baxter Building, which is the headquarters of the Fantastic Four. It and many other things have been hinting at potential new games, and I mean, how cool would it be to have a Fantastic Four game? Especially since interest in the Fantastic Four has plummeted ever since Fox stopped making their movies. But with the MCU Fantastic Four on the way, it could be just the thing to reignite interest and thus promote the game. Insomniac has a bunch of unnamed Marvel projects in the works, but I think the most likely at this point is Daredevil. There have been a few Easter eggs to him in the Spider-Man games, and Daredevil does patrol the same areas as Spider-Man. In fact, I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen him in the Spider-Man games yet. With the X-Men and Wolverine, it seems inevitable that we would get a Deadpool game. Maybe one of those 2 games could have a post-credit scene hinting at a bloody violent game centered around the Merc with a Mouth, with elements borrowed from the original Deadpool game from 2013. After that, we could also get a spin-off Magneto game based on the X-Men. This one is probably less likely, but we can dream, can't we? I think that since there's never been a Doctor Strange game, well, I mean, except on the Apple Vision Pro, but that doesn't count. We can dream that after Avengers, after X-Men, Insomniac may dive into the multiverse a bit, starting with Doctor Strange. One that's probably more likely than not to happen is a Guardians of the Galaxy game. This would probably come in the Avengers and Fantastic Four era if Insomniac's tag team-based games take off. If the Avengers becomes really popular as a game, they might add individual games for any superheroes that end up joining the Avengers along the way. For example, if Ant-Man, the Wasp, and Ms. Marvel join the Avengers in their own games, an Avengers 2 might come along that includes them, and so on and so forth in a never-ending cycle. Some Avengers could also leave the team in the same way. With this, they can make games for heroes like Scarlet Witch, Vision, Iron Fist, and Luke Cage. A game featuring Ant-Man and the Wasp could be good too. The shrinking feature would be an entirely new thing in gaming though, and they'd have to be pretty creative to pull something like that off. A Ghost Rider game? Probably not until much, much later, but I can see it happening after Doctor Strange and all that with the introduction of the supernatural. Ms. Marvel? I can see her game happening sometime after Avengers, maybe starting a spin-off series about the Young Avengers, but she would probably be a bigger success than most people would assume. Her Disney Plus show and her appearance in the Marvels has only bolstered her reputation lately, so I don't think a game starring her would be a bad idea. I think that if you did a game about Scarlet Witch, it would probably come with the Doctor Strange and Ghost Rider stuff. Maybe a little before when she joins the Avengers, but it would still be in that era, maybe even help kickstart the supernatural multiverse type games. I think a game centered around S.H.I.E.L.D. agents could be likely, maybe starring Nick Fury and Maria Hill, and could tie into the Black Widow spy style somehow too. A Power Pack game? I mean, it could happen, for sure, but it just doesn't really fit into Insomniac's theme so far. It could tie in as a game aimed at a slightly younger audience, but probably not anytime soon. I think the same can be said for a Blade game, as Xbox is already developing that. But maybe, after we get Vampires and Ghost Rider, he can make an appearance. Captain Marvel? Yeah, probably sometime around the Guardians of the Galaxy game, when space and all that is being explored. She could also come in for an Avengers game about the Kree and the Skrulls, along with S.H.I.E.L.D. and maybe the Fantastic Four. Okay, is that everybody? Awesome, let's do a full timeline. Once Venom, Wolverine, X-Men, and Spider-Man 3 release in that order, we get Iron Man, which is met with hugely positive reception. After that, Insomniac follows up with Daredevil, Captain America, and Hulk, which are all huge hits, especially Hulk. Then we get Fantastic Four, something fans have wanted since the MCU movie came out. Black Widow, Hawkeye, and Thor come after that and are met with high anticipation. Then, Insomniac gives us X-Men 2, which has Deadpool as a playable character, which is followed by Deadpool's game. After that comes Avengers, which is the biggest hit so far. S.H.I.E.L.D., which isn't a big hit, comes after that. Then Captain Marvel, which is a big hit. Then we get Spider-Man 4, where Spider-Man joins the Avengers, and Guardians of the Galaxy, which Captain Marvel appears in. Black Panther is the next release, followed by Deadpool 2, which has more of Wolverine and the X-Men than the first Deadpool game. Ant-Man and the Wasp come together in their game, which is followed by Avengers 2. After Galactus threatens the world in that game, we get Fantastic Four 2, which is immediately followed by X-Men 3, which is followed by Avengers 3, Insomniac's Avengers Endgame of sorts. After that, I don't know, maybe Deadpool 3? I mean, Doctor Strange has to be released sometime around now, and more Spider-Man is on its way. I just don't know. By now it's the 2050s and the PS11 is almost here. I think it's time to call it quits. Ask me to pick it back up in another 30 years.